Senator Sasse.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here. How large is the universe of known ransomware gangs?
Senator, thank you for the question. The FBI is tracking more than 100 different variants. When I say variants, that would be a brand name such as Sodanakibi, which also is known as Revil. That would be one. But please understand that there are similar actors that cross-cut multiple different variants. But to answer your question, is more than 100 different variants is how many we track.
Thank you for that. Can you size them a little bit for us? And I understand that some of them are duplicate brands, but kind of, issue spot how big the biggest are, how big are the mediums, what's the barrier to entry below which people are not likely able to have competent technologists to be able to execute an attack?
Senator, before he responds, would each of the witnesses pull the microphone a little closer?
Senator, the answer to your question is we have an entire interagency algorithm that essentially prioritizes from 1 to 101 the level of impact that each variant has had on the United States, its economy, and its other various equities. The largest one that we know of, we would estimate that their revenue from attacks exceeds $200 million, to give you some type of scope on the value proposition. Your last question about barriers to entry is a little bit of a difficult one to answer. What I would say is that we see affiliates using the ransomware variants that are going to be most effective at compromising potentially vulnerable infrastructure, information technology infrastructure. So certainly happy to follow up on the barriers to entry conversation, but that would be the best answer I can give you today.
And who owns that data set? So I see Senator Cornyn has just arrived. He and I are both active on this issue from the Intel committee side as well. If we wanted a briefing, who's the one person in the US government who's responsible for owning that data?
The roll-up of the data is owned by the FBI through the interagency, but the model was built by the interagency, and every interagency component has input into the model to finalize the prioritization of it.
And returning to Senator Graham's line of questioning, how many of those 100 are Russian allied?
I don't know that answer. Certainly can respond at a later time with a more precise answer. But what I can say is that while the developers may be Russia-based, the affiliates that deploy the ransomware may or may not be Russia-based. So it's a little bit of a complicated question. But if it's okay with you, sir, we can get back to you with a precise number to answer your question properly.
We'd love it. And in addition to whatever print response you want to give us, I think there are a few of us that overlap between this committee and Sasse who would love to have an actual briefing on it. Senator Graham has left, but I'd like to pursue the question he asked you about deterrence, because the actual rate of growth is about 300% annually right now. Why do we think any of our deterrence is working? It's not a hostile question at any of you personally, but you all spun this as if there's some success here. It's pretty hard to see that from where we sit.
I can lead the conversation. That my answer from the FBI's perspective would be that we are doing as much as we can with what we have to deter. And I can appreciate why, from your perspective, Senator, that it's not having as significant an impact as you would want. But there are dedicated men and women in the FBI, all the partnerships here, that are devoting hundreds of hours a week to this problem set and helping. Now, if the question is, are we having a large enough impact? I understand that question, but please understand the answer to our question about why we're having an impact is because we have great men and women who are doing this work every day, doing prosecutions, infrastructure disruptions, cryptocurrency seizures, and not just within the FBI, but certainly in the agencies that sit with here today, and the international community, and the intelligence community as well, sir.
So go ahead.
If I may, just to add to that, I think focusing on law enforcement deterrence is an important piece of this puzzle. And I agree with you that, though, it alone is not going to be enough. That's why I think we all need to focus on a whole of government response. That is, that we have our colleagues in the Treasury Department looking at how to enhance our position on the cryptocurrency front. We have our friends in CISA building cyber hygiene to slow down the threat. We have our friends in the State Department who are building international consensus against it and putting pressure on Russia. Yes, investigation and prosecution is an important piece of this, but it cannot be the only piece, I think, if we are going to succeed against this threat.
Strongly agree that Putin's cronies who moonlight outside not just the official intel services, but across the oligarchs, like little rent and intel service on the side, clearly they don't fear us. And that deterrent problem is well above y'all's pay grade. Nobody's faulting you here for that. And sir, I recognize you're obviously right that there are a lot of hardworking patriots inside the organization, but that's a different question than whether or not we have the right national strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.